Sound check. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Monday. Happy New Year to you guys. I know this is the first broadcast since the new year. I hope you guys had an awesome holiday season, a great Christmas, a great New Year's. People ask me, hey, what'd you do on New Year's? I was like, I was in bed at 9 o'clock and I slept for 12 hours. so, um, tonight, this is interesting because it's coming around the new year and a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions. So I wanted to talk about the thing that I know is on a lot of people's mind, and that is weight loss. And one of the reasons why is I'm taking part in the January's with the Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge. More info to come on that in just a second. And I've seen in the Wellness Way Challenge page about the No Sugar Challenge, just tons of questions streaming in, things like that. And I thought, you know what? If that's a lot of questions that people have, in regards to, the No Sugar Challenge and the big idea behind it, then it's probably on a lot of people's minds as well. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. So the title of tonight is Weight Loss. Here's what I would do. So here's what I would do. So I'm going to talk a lot about um, weight loss specifically, and hopefully be able to answer a lot of your questions in regards to that. And if you're watching right now, hey, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from as well. And if you are also taking part in the Wellness Ways No Sugar Challenge, make sure that you let me know that too. Okay. So I would love to know where you guys are watching from and if you're taking part in the Wellness Ways No Sugar Challenge. And if you haven't, you're like, I am completely out of it. I've been out of it, over the holidays. I'll let you know what you need to do in order to get caught up with that as well. Okay. Now, weight loss is a huge concern for a lot of people. And that's, it really is tied into a lot of inflammatory things. I'm going to explain that to you in just a second. But if you are from the Chicagoland area and you want to work with us directly, then get to our next inflammation talk, which is going to be a week from tomorrow, Tuesday, January 14th, 6 o'clock p.m. Yes, this is an in-person event. Make sure you get registered for that. But do we help people lose weight? Absolutely. So if you suffer with weight loss, resistance, cancer, infertility, thyroid disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune conditions, hormone imbalance, excuse me. If you suffer with any of those things, then yes, make sure that you are at that event. If you want to work with us directly, make sure that you are at that event, and we'll talk about inflammation, how it's very hard for the body to be able to lose weight, especially if you stay very chronically inflamed. We'll show you your first steps on what you need to do in order to get started with the process of becoming the best version of yourself, especially. So all you got to do is just go ahead and click on our link tree. I think I have it in the comments if you're watching on Facebook. First comment. Also, if you go to all of our socials, you see that Linktree link. And if you click on that, it will take you to this. It will look just like this. And the first thing to pop up will be the inflammation event. Work with me in person. And no, I'm not currently working remotely. So I know a lot of people every single week, they reach out to me, say, hey, like, what do I need to do? Do I need to? I'm like, I'm not working remotely. So you need to find, go to Wellness Way Corporate, see if someone can work with you remotely too. So, but if you want to work with me in person, you are from the Chicagoland area, make sure that you register for that. That will take you to the Eventbrite link, free to join that. Takes you maybe 30 seconds to register. And then my staff will reach out to you to confirm your attendance at that event. Okay. So make sure that you get registered for that. So really, it helps you to see everything from a different perspective. So weight loss, here's what I would do. And you notice on there, the person on the scale, it says 2025. And the reason why is that I say 2025 is that the body hasn't changed since 1985. It hasn't changed. However, a lot of the obstacles are different over the last 25, 30, 35, 40 years than they were, that long ago. There's a lot more things that can derail you in 2025 than could back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. So do I think it was easier back then? Yeah, I do, just because there's a lot less things to sidetrack you and derail you, and so that's why I think it's so much harder from a mental standpoint in 2025 to be able to do that or stick to anything that's worthwhile, that's gonna give you long-lasting results especially. So, here's what I would do when it comes to weight loss. Excuse me, I think I caught a little bit of a lung virus when I was traveling, over the break. Now, just so you know, um, this was a picture of me, and this was a little over 20 years ago. This was a picture of me 20 years ago. I look at that picture and laugh. And do you know why I laugh? Because I've changed so much. You know why I also laugh? Because I was fat, lazy, and soft. I was. And I am not afraid to say that. I was fat, I was lazy, and I was soft. Now, one of the things I had to do is come to terms and be honest with myself and say, you know what? That's why you're in the position you're in, because you're lazy and you're soft. And I absolutely was. And it wasn't until I actually realized that, and I was very honest with myself, did it actually allow me to be able to change it. In fact, I had some actually very good friends who said the same thing about me. And you know what? It offended me. It offended me so much, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if me calling myself fat, say, lazy, and soft, if that offends you, then I'm like, good. And the reason why is because no change ever happens unless you are first offended. I'm just very thankful that my wife loved me through all of that. So this was me little over 20 years ago, but I had to go through a transformation up here, and then I changed myself. And this is a picture of me. This was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And you see, if you look between the two pictures, between the guy on the left and the guy on the right, it's the same guy. It's about 15 years of this is me 15 years older. But if you look at the difference truly is night and day. And that didn't happen overnight. And that's one of the things I want to go over with weight loss in 2025, is that a lot of these changes that take place, they don't happen overnight. But I made a tremendous change, and I worked at it, I chipped away, and I just never ever gave up. And you see the big difference between the two. So I want to make sure when I go over some of the biggest things that you need to realize, I want to make sure that you watch to the end, and I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to show you how I did it. Now, one of the biggest things I want to go over with you is, just because I've lost, 50 pounds and kept it off, and stuck with it and never went back, doesn't make me an expert, because I know a lot of people online, they lose weight and they consider themselves experts. Just because you did it doesn't necessarily make sure that you're an expert, because maybe it worked for you, but it's not going to work for other people. But I want to make sure that you see this all the way through, so that you can see, here's what I did personally. But everyone is going to be different. And this is why testing is going to be so important. But make sure you watch this all the way through. So if you're watching it live, watch it all the way through. If you don't have a chance to watch the whole thing live, make sure that you go back and rewatch it, so that you can see it all the way through, to understand the whole idea and the whole perspective actually behind it. Okay. So number one, here's what I would do to lose weight in 2025. Number one, decrease your sugars, and please eliminate your refined carbohydrates. You got to decrease your sugars. You got to decrease your sugars. I'm going to show you the reason why right here. Okay. Here's a bowl of broccoli, and here's a bowl of, I don't even know what it is, but it's some kind of, like, fudge Butterfinger brownie, or, I don't know, something like that. Both of these, here's what's interesting. Both of these contain carbohydrates. These contain a lot of fat that's going to be in it as well. But when I say refined carbohydrates, here's the big idea behind those, okay? If you eat a whole bowl of broccoli, there's going to be a lot of complex carbohydrates in it. Yes, there'll be a little bit of protein that's in it as well. But if you eat the whole bowl of this, there may be, because these there's a lot of fiber, and there's complex carbohydrates in them that take a long time for the body to be able to break down. But if you eat a whole bowl of this, you may get 150, 180 calories, give or take. But if you eat the whole plate of this, which is going to be the same volume of food, there's easily going to be 2,000 calories that's in it. One has a lot more energy that your body is not going to use. One will break down a lot slowly, won't spike your blood sugar. This right here will spike your blood sugar. Your body will break it down very easily. And this is like basically the recipe. If you want to get fat, just keep eating this. And so that's why I tell people you really need to start decreasing your refined carbohydrates. I think that people demonize carbs way too much, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be eating this as well. So this is why this is not refined carbohydrates, but this will have a lot of refined carbohydrates in them. And so you should really get rid of the ones on the right, and you should be focusing on getting these sources of carbohydrates on the left. The reason why is it's going to be a lot of nutrition. There's good sulfur in it, helps with your detox pathways. There's going to be a lot more vitamins in it. This right here is just a bunch of rocket fuel that you burn through and probably will suppress your immune system for a few hours from doing that. But the thing is this, which one tastes better? And please don't tell me this it's on the left. It's on the right. It's going to taste better. And so, but so many people think, oh, I have such a sweet tooth that I have to have this food. No, you don't. Stay away from it long enough and your body's changes in taste will completely change. But this right here, refined carbohydrates, and this one isn't. They're both carbohydrates. You can't demonize them. But this one right here is just absolute rocket fuel. The body will break it down. And in fact, if you look at the total calorie content, this is probably 180 calories. This is probably 1,800 calories, give or take. And this is affording you a lot more opportunity to be able to store that in the form of body fat, especially. Okay. Now, this goes on, kind of parallels January 2025, the no sugar challenge that the Wellness Way is holding. And it's been going on since January 1st. So if you guys haven't been part of that, or if you're just like, what on earth is that? Well, I'm 6 days in on the no sugar challenge. So, and it's not a huge change of how I'm eating. And so I'm not having huge cravings. I'm not having, any of that because it's more of a lifestyle for me, than the average person. If it comes to a shock, for you to be able to change the way that you are eating, then you probably have been doing some pretty sassy things for a long period of time if it causes that many symptoms of you not feeling very good. But you can get involved in it very easy if you just go to the Linktree account and you could download the Foods to Avoid, Foods to Enjoy page. If you go to Linktree, and you'll see that in our Linktree profile, just click on that. That will direct you to the Wellness Way website. If you go ahead and you put your email address in, it will actually make these links downloadable for you so you can save it. You can take a screenshot of it so that you know that the foods to avoid and the foods that you should actually be eating. But if you really want to keep it really, really easy, then really, guys, just focus on eating meats and veggies. Literally, like, don't make it more complex than what it needs to be. Because there's a wonderful, wonderful Facebook group at the Wellness Way Challenge page, and about 30,000 people in that. And I'm one of the moderators, and I see so many questions that don't need to be asked. It's a very, very simple thing to do, but a lot of people try to make it so much harder than what it needs to be. It kind of reminds me of, having kids. When your kids come to you and they ask you a question and you're like, or they say, hey, can I do this? And you're like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And rather than just leave it at that, then one of the things that they do is then they go to mom, then they ask the same question, hoping for a different response. A lot of people ask a lot of questions, hoping for I hope they let this, but I know it's not, what I need to do. But just keep it simple. Just think of meats and veggies. Is it a meat? Yes. Is it a veggie? Yes. That's good to eat. Is it a grain? Is it a junk food? No, then just get rid of it. However, I know a lot of people have a lot of questions because the first time doing it can be pretty dramatic for some people. But we actually just came out with the No Sugar Companion book, which is a wonderful guide that helps to explain this a lot more detail. And if you actually go to store.thewellnessway.com, you'll see that on Linktree profile. And you could actually get that book and they'll ship it directly to your house. The only thing that I ask is when you go there, create an account enter in 5058 at checkout. So that way it just says Dr. Thompson authorized that. He gave you permission to be able to get that book. Okay. Now, here's the other thing too. When people ask me, hey, should I go on this? Well, usually the people, because we don't just start it in January. Sometimes I'll have people do it, right away. And guys, the amazing thing is that when people truly follow through with it, there's a tremendous amount of weight loss that takes place. However, if people said, well, what, because there's a lot of people within the challenge group who they're like, I still don't feel very good. Like, well, you may have other issues going on. You may have a lot of food allergies that are causing a chronic inflammatory response within the gastrointestinal system. You could also do, and this is actually one of the panels that we developed only because of the no sugar challenge, called the no sugar panel. And here's what it actually measures. It measures fasting blood sugars. It measures A1C, the insulin levels, measures some hormone functions. Look at a CBC, CMP, and it'll look at some basic markers just to see, all right, should you be doing this? I mean, is this warranted? And is this something that's going to be the best thing for you? So I do my own, I measure my food allergies every single year. And I've actually have done something that's a little bit more advanced than the no sugar panel. It's called the male panel. And I've done that twice this year because I want to measure my insulin levels. I might want to measure my A1C. Excuse me. And the last time that I measured my insulin levels, I mean, they were sitting at about 3.5 to 4, but I will see people's insulin levels at 50, 60. And then my fasting blood sugar usually sits at about 85. And the thing is I know that if my fasting blood sugar, my insulin levels are staying pretty low, it's not that hard for me to be able to lose weight, especially. That's why getting some testing can benefit you and can take you from point A to point B a whole heck of a lot quicker if you just handle some inflammatory stressors, especially. This is why this specific testing is going to be very, very important for you. Okay. Now, I've had a lot of people who have lost a lot of weight doing the no sugar challenge. And in fact, one of the first things that I will tell you, because one of the amazing things is people start avoiding food allergies and they start cleaning up their diet, and it's not uncommon that someone will come back and like, oh my gosh, I've lost 20 pounds. And I'm like, congratulations, it's a lot of swelling and water weight. So when you do the no sugar challenge, much of the initial weight loss probably will be a lot of water weight, and it's not necessarily all fat loss. I've seen people who've done a 3-day fast and they've lost 15 pounds. I'm like, you didn't lose 15 pounds of fat. You had so much stored sugar in your liver and in your muscles. And one of the things that comes with stored sugar is a lot of water weight. Or if you have a lot of issues with a lot of food allergies, and you're going to be a lot of swelling, a lot of bloating. And once you start getting rid of that, you will also lose a lot of water weight, which is why one of the things when people start doing it, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm peeing like a racehorse right now. This is also true when people start to do like a 3-day fast. I should say men, because I really only recommend it for men to do it, or postmenopausal women. But they'll do it. They're like, man, I'm just like on day 2, I just started urinating like a racehorse. Holy cow. And I'm like, well, you're losing a lot of water weight at that point. So, when you do it, and I don't recommend getting on a scale, like every single day, but much of your initial weight loss will be water weight, and it's not necessarily fat loss. Here's the thing. That's okay. It's okay. And that's why when you talk about weight loss, water weight really is kind of negligible. What you really should be focused on is fat loss, or the loss of fat mass. Not necessarily just your gravitational pull, on a scale. Because if you were really just talking about weight loss, fly yourself to the moon and now you're 1/6 of the weight that you were on Earth. It doesn't mean you actually lost weight. It's just there's less gravitational pull. So you want to make sure that you're doing things that are going to be beneficial for your metabolic health, especially. So number one, avoid processed sugars. And this is why your carbohydrates should really just come from, lots of veggies and things like that. Number two, what I would do to lose weight in 2025 is I would inventory your sugar intake. Inventory your sugar intake. What do I mean by inventory your sugar intake? Well, make sure that you're keeping track, not every day, but initially, just to keep track of how much sugar you truly are consuming. How much sugar are you truly consuming? And this is why this is very, very important, because this is the whole idea between statistics, and feelings. Statistics and feelings. Um, Too many people rely on their feelings to actually see how well that they're doing. But if you want to get a cold, hard look of truly where you're at, and then start taking an inventory of how much sugar you are in fact um, consuming. Here's the reason why. Stats will show the real story, and feelings are a liar, unlike stats. There's been times in my office where I'm like, yeah, my office is doing pretty good. Then I look at the stats and then I'm like, oh man, that was painful. So this is why numbers, guys, they don't lie. But there's so many people who just lie to themselves and they rely on their feelings and how well they're doing. But I'm like, look at the stats and inventory how much sugar or carbohydrates you're consuming every single day. That will not lie to you, because those are just cold, hard stats. And if you want to stop relying on your feelings, then start taking an inventory of truly how much sugar that you're doing. And you don't necessarily need to do it every single day, but go back, be honest with yourself, and look at, here's how much sugar I consume on average, on a day. And then just look at that over a day or two. And then you can pretty much extrapolate that out over 30 days. Be like, yep, that's what I'm consuming over the course of 30 days, 12 months, maybe over the last 10 years as well. And it helps to get the feelings out of it. And it helps you to make take an objective inventory of how well you actually are doing. So number 3, what I would do is I would stop feeling like you need to earn your food. So stop earning your food. There's so many people who just get so weird, meaning like, oh, I'm not going to eat anything until I exercise first, or I need to earn this. I need to earn this brownie. I'm like, that negates the point. I need to earn my breakfast. I need to earn my lunch. But one of the biggest changes over the last couple of years, I started looking at food is not something that I need to stream down as a punishment, as much as I look at food as saying, hey, this food is going to act like fuel that's going to help with cellular function and repair. And so that's why if you look at foods, you have to look at how much protein am I consuming, how many minerals, how many vitamins are actually in this. And everything that I eat, I look at this and I'm like, is this going to drive cellular function and repair, or is this just going to cause a lot of cell destruction? Okay. This is so true, because if you look at ultra processed foods, foods that are high, in simple carbohydrates, here's how this can absolutely cause cellular destruction, is because if you're carrying around chronically elevated blood sugars, will actually damage protein structures within the body. So they cause something known as advanced glycation end stages. And one of the things that they do is they damage the protein structures. And when they damage the protein structures, then one of the things that happens is the immune system has to go in and clean up that cell damage. This is why if you look at someone who's got chronically elevated blood sugars, why it's so damaging to the vascular system, because the endothelial lining is considered connective tissue. Why it's so damaging to the joints, including the knees and the hips. And if you look at, knee and hip replacements, majority of those people have blood sugar issues that are going on. And it's just causing a chronic inflammatory response, because it's causing so much damage to to that connective tissue, especially. So you have to start looking at food as a fuel, excuse me, that can drive cellular function and actually drive repair, or just cause a lot of cellular destruction. Okay. So number 3, stop thinking like you need to earn your food, and start thinking, I need to get that food in to drive repair and proper function. Number 4, get 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Get 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Make sure that you are sleeping enough. Over the last year, I used to work out a ton. In fact, I over exercise, way too much. But over the last year, I have basically only worked out 3 to 4 times a week. That's it. And I focused on getting enough sleep. Haven't gained a pound, haven't lost any muscle mass, really haven't lost any kind of strength or whatnot, because sleep is so critical when it comes to repair, regeneration, and recovery. because the number one hormone of sleep, melatonin, is one of the things that helps to drive repair within the mitochondria of your cells. And this is what is actually helping with metabolism. It's what's helping with so many other things, especially. So here's why sleep is so important. Adequate sleep will help lower your hunger. It also help lower your cortisol levels. And no, cortisol is not a bad hormone. I know so many influencers out there, they demonize cortisol. And here's my idea with cortisol. Cortisol is, you need a healthy circadian rhythm. Cortisol is there and it's needed. Cortisol will go up in times of stress. There's no doubt about it. But you can knock down your cortisol levels if you're getting adequate sleep. You get adequate sleep, it's going to lower down your hunger. Go ahead and look this up, guys, and your cortisol. And the thing is if you get increased hunger and you get increased cortisol, this is just one of the things that is driving poor choices. Make good choices. Make good choices. I'm saying that. But if you get enough sleep, you're going to notice, man, I'm just not as hungry all the time. And also it's going to help give me a good circadian rhythm. But guys, if you're skimping on sleep, if you're not going to bed on time and you're chronically under recovered, under rested, that's just a great opportunity for you to make really, really bad choices. And I know what people are saying. Oh, well, I can't sleep. Or I have a problem going to sleep. Well, this is related to stress. It's related to blood sugar. This is related to you probably being on your phone. So there's a lot of things that you can do in order to improve your sleep hygiene, especially. But controlling your blood sugars, not being stressed, and getting better habits is a huge step in the right direction, especially. Number 5, one of the things that I would do is I would start CrossFitting. I would take my butt into a CrossFit gym. And this is actually coming from someone who owned CrossFit gyms for 8 or 9 years. We took thousands of people through. And a lot of times people came in with the intention of losing weight. Like, only if I just started doing this 3 times a week, I'm going to lose tons of weight. And that's not necessarily true, because you do need to change your diet. You need to change your nutrition. There's no doubt about it. However, I would take my butt into a CrossFit gym and I would do it right away. And in fact, with a lot of people, sometimes we have to give them some foundational things to start doing first. But when they get to a certain level, you know what I tell them to do? Get your butt into a CrossFit gym. And some people do it, some people don't. But the people who don't, they keep complaining. But you need to do that. And this is why high intensity functional training is so absolutely critical, not only for your longevity, but also for your insulin sensitivity, especially. Okay. So high intensity training and weightlifting is one of the fastest ways to increase insulin sensitivity within your muscle cells. So you want better blood sugar control, get bigger muscles, get more muscle mass. You want better blood sugar control, then start doing high intensity training. You want better blood sugar control, get enough sleep. You want better blood sugar control, then stop eating so much doggone sugar. Because if you want to increase insulin sensitivity, which insulin, guys, is a fat storing hormone, there's no doubt about it, is start doing high intensity exercise. Start doing it. And guys, you don't have to do it every single day. You don't have to do it, but you should be doing some form of high intensity exercise 3 times a week. And you should be doing some level of weight training in order to increase your muscle mass. And the easiest way to get your muscle mass back is going to be in your back, in your butt, and your quads. Easiest way to do that in order to get overall an increase in muscle mass. It's not doing a bunch of bicep curls, because those are just very small muscles. But if you want to improve your insulin sensitivity, get into a gym, take your butt into a gym and start working out, even if you don't feel like it. You know how many times I don't feel like working out? Every single time. I mean, sometimes I would rather just lay in bed and sleep and be lazy, but I will get into the gym tomorrow and on Thursday, sometimes on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, whether I feel like it or not. That's just called doing it. Even if you don't want to do it, that's just called maturity. So, but if you want to change, this is one of the best things that you can start doing, especially. Number 6, be patient and realistic. This is more of a mindset thing of being patient and realistic. And you got to understand. I remember I had a gentleman where I looked at his insulin levels and they were just through the roof. We did a no sugar panel on him. His insulin levels were sitting at 45 or 50. And I looked at him and I'm like, are you eating like an a-hole? And he's like, yes, yes, I am. I'm like, okay, well, here's what you need to do. I want you to eat this way. I want you to go on no sugar diet, and we'll follow up in a month. And lo and behold, man, he followed through with that, and he lost 25 pounds in 1 month. And this is what I said. I said, congratulations, you lost a lot of water weight. That wasn't all fat mass, and now it's going to start to go down. It's going to start to slow down quite a bit. The next month I followed up with him. He's like, man, it really slowed down. What am I doing wrong? I'm like, nothing. You're not doing anything wrong, but you lost a lot of water weight when you got all your sugars. You burned through all your sugars in your liver and in your muscles. And now you're just basically just relying on the loss of fat. And that's why it will slow down quite a bit. But you really need to be patient and realistic. I remember checking the Wellness Way Challenge group, and this is not a joke, okay? But somebody posted, man, I've been doing this for 4 days and I thought I'd be a lot healthier. 4 days, huh? So you need to be realistic in what your expectations are. One of the first thing that I would tell you this is you really need to start measuring your progress in months and years, not in hours and days. And this is why people just give up, because you have completely unrealistic expectations. You need to shut your brain off and do the right things for months and even for years. Some of the things I've been doing for 15 to 20 years, and people just don't understand. And they just automatically assume that, oh, you must be cheating or you must be doing some kind of steroids or something like that. I'm like, you don't know my struggle that I've done over the last 15 to 20 years, especially. You need to measure your progress in months and years, but too many people measure their progress in hours and days. That's why I always say anything worthwhile is going to be twice as hard and it's going to be twice as long. Anything worthwhile, guys, it never ever comes easy. And we're always looking for the quick fix. We're always looking for the easy out. We're always looking at, in fact, you don't have to go too far looking at the people who are doing, gastric bypass and who are doing weight loss medications and things like that, only because that they have been pointed in the wrong direction. And the doctors take away all their hope. Like your only hope is just to go on some kind of medications or just massacre your anatomy in order to rearrange your anatomy so that you physically can't eat anything anymore. You have to understand that it's going to take twice as long and it's going to be twice as hard. Anything worthwhile is always harder than what it needs to be. The problem is too many people just give up. They just give up. And that's why I always tell people, stop giving up. So number 7, here's what I would do too. And this has to do with lifestyle. You have to understand it's a mindset and a lifestyle. It's not a diet plan. I love it when people call it a diet plan, or when they start seeing me, I'm like, here's what I want you to do. Then they call it your program. I'm like, oh man, I want to reach across the table and maybe lightly tap them on the face. I'm like, it's not a program. It's a lifestyle based off of you. But the problem is when people call it a diet plan, the idea behind diet means there's an end. There's a start and there's an end. But you should be eating this as a lifestyle. The only problem is people start incorporating this because it's some kind of intervention for a lot of bad behavior for a long period of time. But my kids, like if I told them to eat this, it wouldn't be a huge change to what they're already doing. So you need to start getting the idea that this is really a lifestyle that's supported by having the proper mindset. And it's not some kind of weird diet plan in which there's some kind of start. I'm going to start it and I'm going to end it. And when I end it, I'm going to go completely off the rails just to have to restart it, kind of get, all over again. And if you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. That's one of the biggest things. But you got to stop looking at it as some kind of endpoint. Especially, okay? I know someone will ask the questions. I'll probably even get a couple of messages. Dr. Nate, what do you think of weight loss medications and gastric bypass? I've done a lot of videos on this. But here's the take. If you really want to get to the nitty gritty of weight loss medications, gastric bypass, the whole idea behind them is for you to either anatomically you can't eat as much, or they start changing and start manipulating physiology so that it severely decreases your hunger, okay? The end result is still that you are eating less. So the end result with both of those is that you have to eat a whole lot less. But the problem is is that if you never change this, this is why gastric bypass revisions are so common. And this is why, if you look at, Manjaro, Wegovy, all this, why there's rebound weight gain, of why that's so terrible is you see the rebound weight gain. Yeah, it has to do with, insulin and things like that. But the thing is that if you never change this up here and you're just relying on like just chemically manipulating your physiology or anatomically manipulating your physiology, then you are never getting to the real reason why you got there in the first place. Now, here's a frequently asked question that I know people are going to ask. Dr. Nate, do I need to count my calories? Do I really need to count my calories? And I have probably taken 4,000 to 5,000 people through through some of the challenges that we used to do. Um, we've taken a lot of people through, and this will always come up. Do I need to count my calories? I'm going to give you my opinion. If you are eliminating ultra processed foods, you're eating primarily meats and veggies, and you are doing a good job of doing that, then do you really need to count your calories? And I'm going to say, no, you don't. And the reason why is if you're doing it that way, it's very hard to overeat. I never have seen a person get fat on broccoli. Never seen it. Can you get fat on Butterfinger? Yes, you absolutely can, but I've never seen people get fat by eating broccoli. So do you need to count your calories? Chances are you probably don't, because I never see people overeat salmon or some kind of grass-fed beef or some chicken and broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. It's really, really hard, guys, to overeat, because if you overeat that, you're not going to feel very good. You'll probably vomit. Okay. But you can completely overeat when it comes to a lot of processed food, processed simple carbohydrates and things like that. So you really need to count your calories? Probably not. Although sometimes, people are like, oh, I did a no sugar diet, I can't lose any weight. You know what I say? Then you're probably sick. There's probably something very inflammatory inside of the body. There's probably something, the reason why your body wants to hang on to fat. And remember, toxicity is stored within fat cells. So if you are missing some enzyme pathways to be able to metabolize that fat, take the fat, to turn it into energy and water, then there's a reason why the body wants to hang on to that. It has a lot to do with toxicity and things like that. That's why for some people, detox can be so important in order to jumpstart it as well. But do you really need to count your calories? I'm going to say if you're eating the way you're supposed to during the no sugar challenge, no, probably not. Okay. Now, who needs to count their calories? People who just decide I'm going to eat less, but I'm just going to eat bad, because it's really easy to overeat if you're eating a lot of ultra processed foods, especially. Okay. So now remember I said watch to the end, all the way to the end, because I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. Okay. I'm going to show you what I did. And this was about 15 years ago. This took a little bit of mental fortitude, because it was a shock to my system. But here's what I did when I started off is that, number one, I did bone broth smoothies. So I took, about a scoop and a half of bone broth and mixed it in with 10 to 12 ounces of some kind of unsweetened nut milk. And it might be almond milk, coconut milk. Some people may have allergies to it. It might be hemp milk. And basically what I did is I had 2 of those for breakfast and lunch. And so that way I would be getting about 100, 120 grams of protein, give or take, during that time. And then at night, I would eat meats and veggies. I would eat as much as I wanted, meats and veggies, but I had absolutely no processed carbohydrates. I mean, for 6 months, I think I had 1 ice cream cone and I think I had 1 bag of fruit snacks. Literally, that's all that I had. But I would eat meats and veggies, and I would eat as much as I want until I was full. And then basically I would go to bed. And then in addition to that, I did CrossFit 5 times per week. And I'm not necessarily recommending that for every single person, but for some people, sometimes that's the best thing you can do in order to feel a little bit full, get enough protein in, and make sure you are getting some processed carbohydrates. No processed carbohydrates, sorry, but you're getting some carbohydrates in the form of veggies and things like that. But I also did a lot of strength training and things like that. I got very strong. And what you see over here, that's just an accumulation of hard work over the course of years. And the last thing that I'm going to add too is this. I never did testosterone replacement therapy. I never did. Um, and in fact, I know that I had a social media post and some person's like, he just looks like a roided out chiropractor. And I'm like, you don't see this, you don't see the signs, do you? People doing steroids. But I have never done testosterone replacement therapy, never needed it. Um, but this right here is just the result of a lot of hard work, a lot of weight training, and also, not carrying around a lot of extra body fat because at this level right here, I was probably at about 10, 11% body fat. Okay. But I've never done any kind of testosterone replacement therapy. And the people who say that, who make those accusations, those are the wimps that never do anything worthwhile or never stick to anything long term. And when they see people get any kind of results, based off of hard work, they're the ones who are going to immediately claim that because it's called projection. It's called projection, meaning I would do that because I just can't stick to anything long term. So that's my only solution. But no, I've never done that, and I have the blood work to actually show it. So I've never done that, as well. But this was just years and years and years of doing the right things and doing a lot of hard work over time. I want to leave you with the final thought. If you ever saw the statue of David, just a sculpture, a masterpiece sculpture. And I remember they asked Michelangelo, "Well, how did you sculpt the statue of David?" And here's what he said: "I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free." And that's so true because all of us, we have such a tremendous potential inside of us. And yet we never develop it. We never keep chipping away until we set the angel inside of us, until we set them free. So many people live lives of quiet desperation. And there's so much unrealized, untapped potential on people's deathbeds. And that's the greatest tragedy, is that so many people never realize of truly who they were supposed to become and who they were created to be. And that's why so many people die with so much unrealized potential. And that's why they live with so much regret. So I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. Michelangelo took years to develop the statue of David. The thing is he just didn't give up. He didn't give up. And so many people, they just give up. And that's why I'm saying, you know, I don't understand the idea behind giving up. You don't quit when you don't quit when you feel like it. You rest when you're done. Give yourself a pat on the back for a day and then get back to work. And that's the only thing that I've done, is just constantly getting back to work. So keep chipping away in order to set the angel free that's stuck within that marble. Okay. This is why, guys, coming up Tuesday, January 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. This is a week from tomorrow, our next inflammation event. Guys, if you are from the Chicagoland area, and you want to work on weight loss, you want to start improving your metabolic health, you want to start lowering down the physical, chemical, mental stressors that are causing you to become sick, then get registered for that event. All you have to do is just click on our link tree. It'll take you to your Eventbrite page. Click on this top link, take you 30 seconds to register. And when you register for that, then my staff will reach out just to confirm your attendance at that event. And if you stuck all the way through with what I've done and all the different things, then I guarantee you that when you register for it, I guarantee you're going to show up for it. Okay. And then also make sure that if you haven't taken part in the 2025 No Sugar Challenge, then you can still get on board with that, because just because the calendar turns over into a new year doesn't mean that you have to start. You can start right now, because weight loss doesn't accelerate on January 1st. Your physiology doesn't change during that time. So you go to our link tree and then click on it. You'll see free guide, No Sugar Challenge. That'll take you to the Wellness Way. Enter in your email address, and then you'll see a page with all of these resources you can download. You can have those, and it'll also give you a link to join the Wellness Way Challenge page that's on Facebook. Over 30,000 people are in that group right now. Okay. Now, if you want some additional resources, you can get the No Sugar Companion Book. That is, yes, available for order. So all you do is click on the link tree and you can go to the Wellness Way store. And yes, you can also get bone broth protein. Okay. I go through a lot of bone broth every single week. In fact, yes, I've had probably 60, 70 grams of bone broth just today. Bone broth is actually really good as far as skin, hair, nails, things like that. Most people don't realize I'm actually 78 years of age. Just kidding. Um, but yeah, you can get some of the best bone broth if you go to the Wellness Way store. All you got to do is just click on that. You'll create an account, and then when you order, just put 5058 at checkout. That just authorizes you to be able to get some of the stuff that you need as well. And if you're like, what do I need to do again? Just go back and watch that video again. But if you do have a sincere question, just reach out to me, on Messenger or something like that. I'll do my best to try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Okay. So here's what I would do for weight loss. So hopefully, guys, you incorporate those many things that are going on. Although the biggest thing I would tell you is just get involved in the Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge. It's one of the easiest things, and it's free in order to get involved with that. I'm going to have a meal here in about 25, 30 minutes. And guess what I'm going to have? Meats and veggies. That's all I'm going to have. And I'm not going to complain about it either. So weight loss in 2025, here's what I would do. Just understand that it's your physiology hasn't changed over the last 25, 30, 40 years. Human physiology hasn't changed. However, it's different in 2025 just because there's a lot more roadblocks that can sidetrack you, can derail you. And that's why I think if you follow all of those things, 2025 can be a tremendous year of some pain. Yep. But also a tremendous year of growth and tremendous year to help you have the best health that you have had in years, especially. So if you got any questions, reach out to me via Messenger or send me a private message. I'll do my best to try to get back to you as quickly as possible. The biggest thing that I would tell you is good intentions won't get you anywhere, but action will. And so 2025 should be a massive year of action. And when the end of 2025 happens, are you going to look back with regret, or are you going to say, I took massive action and I didn't quit? I hope you can say the latter and not the former. So guys, I hope you have a great time and a great rest of your week. And next Monday, I'll be back here with a brand new live. Give me some suggestions if you have any. And good luck to all of you. And I hope you guys do well. Be well, be blessed. I love all of you guys. Remember who you are. And we'll see you guys next week.